My name is Monique Polak. I'm a writer. I write novels for teenagers. I've also written one nonfiction book. I'm a journalist here in Montreal, and I teach at Marianopolis College. I teach English and writing and something called humanities. I think that what drives me to create and to write is really that I love words. When I write, I guess it helps me make sense of the world. I was always a collector. When I was a little kid, I collected sugar bags. And I think now, as a grown-up, I think I collect stories. I guess it becomes part of who we are. Every morning I get up and I write in a diary. I've been doing that for more than 20 years. It's how I start my day. I like working with language, and I never know how it's going to be. Some days are really hard. It's like I'm forcing myself and I'm fighting with myself, and other days it's easy and it's lovely, but those are few and far between. Of all my books, there is one that's based a little bit on my life, and that's a book called So Much It Hurts. And so that's a girl who's experienced domestic violence, which I did as a young woman. And so that character, I could tell you what happened to her. She did okay. I'm especially privileged that I love to work with words and that they're somehow at my disposal. You know, I write for teenagers. I'm 56 and a half, and inside I think I am about 15. Like, I must have gotten stuck there in some weird way. The book, What World Is Left, of all my books that I've written, it's the one that means the most to me. It's a work of fiction, but it's based on my mom's experience between 1942 and 1945, when she was a prisoner in a Nazi concentration camp called Theresienstadt. I grew up with a mother who was kind of difficult, and when you have a mom like that, I was always trying to understand what made her like that. My mother was very protective of her story. The story is about her father, who survived the Holocaust. I owe my life to my grandfather. He was forced by the Nazis to create propaganda. My mother insisted that as a child, she never questioned what my grandfather did. But the girl in the book, I've allowed that girl to question her father's actions. It mattered to me, and in the end, my mom came around to it also. She told me, do whatever you need to do to make it the best story possible, but I won't read your book. And you know what? She read my book many times. She's in the hospital now. The one book she asked for was that book about her, and she has it by her bedside. The other thing about that book for me is that I really wanted to look at something that interests me a lot in life, which is that life isn't black and white. People aren't perfectly good or perfectly bad. You know, the book actually was translated into Dutch, I guess 3 years after it came out in English. My mom came with me for the launch of the book in Holland, and in the book, when my mom was deported from Holland, all the Jews were rounded up in a building called the Schouwburg. It was the opera house. And that's where the launch of the book was held in Holland in 2011. And my mom had not stepped foot in the opera house since that day in 1942 when she was rounded up. So it was a pretty, so you ask, how did she feel? I think she felt very, very proud. And not just proud of the book, but proud that she survived and made a life and had children and laughed a lot and loved and had a full, rich life.
What World Is Left, Monique Polak. Mother hands me a small bar of gray soap and a pile of our dirty clothes. But it isn't laundry day, I protest. Because of the shortage of clean water, we are only permitted to wash clothes every 6 weeks, and then only up to 4 kilograms of laundry, which doesn't amount to much when you consider there are 4 of us. Father sold a sketch to one of the women at the washing fountain. In return, she's letting us do an extra wash. Go quickly to the fountain and see how much of this you can get done. I'd do it myself, but your father isn't feeling well. My stomach turns. He isn't? Mother pushes me toward the door. Go, she says. He'll be fine. The bundle Mother has given me is large and hard to carry. I can barely see over it, and items of clothing, a tattered undershirt, and old sock, keep falling off. Soon I'm sweaty from trying to keep the bundle together. The insides of my elbows ache. František is at the corner. I have no free hand to wipe the sweat off my face, so I try brushing it against the pile of clothes. The stink of sweat burns my nostrils. Now my face will smell too. And I can feel rings of sweat forming under my armpits. If I keep my arms close to my chest, František may not notice. I feel ashamed of the soiled clothing I'm carrying. What if he sees my underpants? What will he think of me then? If only I had a free hand for him to hold. But František laughs. Imagine my good fortune running into you, he says, playing with the piece of black leather he wears around his neck. Do you believe in luck? I ask him, suddenly feeling bolder than usual. A little, he says, casting his dark eyes down to the cobblestone street. But we make our own luck. That's why sometimes I wait for you here at night. Do? I feel myself blush. František follows me to the fountain. At first I refuse his offer to help me wash the dirty laundry, but when he insists, I give him a pair of Theo's socks. The socks, it seems, have more holes than wool in them. You'd better have a strong nose, I warn him. When František laughs, his dark eyes light up. As he scrubs the socks, I think how František is not only handsome, but kind. Annika, he says, I need to tell you about my feelings for you. I can practically feel my heart skip a beat, just the way they say it happens in storybooks. Only usually the girl isn't washing underwear, rubbing the soap so hard the skin on her knuckles breaks. And usually the boy doesn't go off with someone else into cubbyholes. No, I tell myself, this is wrong, all wrong. What about your lady friend? I asked, my voice suddenly growing shrill. The one with the 2 children. This time, František blushes. Does he really think I've never seen them together? I don't love her, he says, his dark eyes on mine. He doesn't love her? That only makes things worse. If he doesn't love her, why does he take her to cubbyholes? I look František straight in the eye. I've seen the 2 of you go off together on Sunday afternoons. And doesn't she have a husband? I pick at the skin around my fingernail. I've said too much. Now František will know for sure that I've been watching him. František sucks in his breath and meets my gaze. What did she and I do together, he says, are just animal things. Animal things, I say, as I turn back to my scrubbing. I feel hot tears prick at the corner of my eyes. Animal things? How can he say something so rude? I'm no animal. I'm a human girl. I won't let him speak to me like this. Go away, I mutter, without looking up. Just go away. As I scrub, I keep my eyes on his feet. He is wearing a pair of scuffed gray boots. The boots don't move an inch. František isn't going away. I could insist, but I don't. I think of František's dark hair and eyes, and though I shouldn't, I think of his calloused hands running across my body, touching my face, my neck, my arms. I know it's very, very wrong, but I can't help wondering what it would be like to be in one of the cubbyholes with František. For a moment, a wave of guilty pleasure washes over me.